in my opinion, I believe Jesus was much more of a Buddhist because we all know that he wasn't a Christian. It wasn't a thing, right? All he taught was the principle of love. And so Christianity has lost sight of what Jesus really, really wants us to know. And it's that, hey, the power is within you. God is within you. And we are the same. The I am is a universal statement that we are.
Welcome to Rich in Real Life. It's your girl, Jessica Hurley, and I am here with another special guest, but this one in particular, y'all, I can't wait to have this conversation. I'm going to give you like the formal list of things, and then I'm going to talk about who he really is to me, which is my favorite part. He is a breathwork facilitator. He's the founder of Connect and Evolve. He is what I would consider an awakened human being. And an embodiment coach, and guys, all the things your heart could ever just desire in a human that could help you with your healing journey. But to me, this is my brother, Ben. And I can't wait to have this conversation around, it's been a long time coming, around a 4-day retreat that myself, my best friend, and eight of our mastermind girls went on in Sedona, Arizona with a whole ass stranger, y'all. And it was the best decision we ever made. And so I had to have Ben as my guest today to talk about this experience, why he is who he is, how he's become who he is. And what I really want to talk about is the unique experience around this retreat, because there was just some things in this retreat that made it, I would say, top 3 most beautiful healing experiences of my personal life. And you guys know I've done some things. What made it so unique, and some of the traits I saw in Ben that I wish a lot of other healers carried. And I can't wait to have this conversation. So welcome to Rich in Real Life, my brother, Ben, Mr. Ben Holt.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Jess. Such an honor.
I'm so excited about this. I've been like, Ben, we got to have this conversation before it leaves my spirit. But the reality is it never will. Because
it's been building up.
What a freaking experience it was.
Yeah. And
so you call it so before that, let me ask this question to you. Mm-hmm. You are what I would consider a man of young age. And you are deep into this. Like I said, breathwork facilitator. You teach other people how to facilitate breathwork. You are, I don't know what most would say, incredibly spiritually aligned or awakened. You, we'll cross the word. You do so much deep work around this. And so I guess my first question has to be, what got you aligned to this? Because you and I've had deep conversations around marketing, and we both obsess over the work side of it. But you have to choose a different path diligently to go this route. And so what made you go this route and really, really embody this role for other people?
Well, thank you so much for asking that question, Jess. And it's really been a journey of self-discovery. It started years and years ago, whenever I was in college, around 2015, whenever I was on my way out of college at the time. And I started getting really into meditation and manifestation. I had been kind of a jock my whole life, an athlete, I should say. And so I was very into fitness. I was very into achieving peak physical performance and peak physical states. And so that eventually translated into the inner work. I had achieved this action figure body, and I was a cage fighter. And so I was at my peak physically, and I wanted to explore new realms of development and self-development. And so I started focusing on manifestation, started focusing on meditation, learning these different techniques. At the time, Joe Dispenza was just really getting put out into the world. And Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, all these guys were very influential for me at that time.
At 20, though, in my mind, I'm like, at 20, I'm 33, just deep diving into this journey. So every time I meet someone in their 20s doing this, I'm like, God bless you. You're going to have a good life. Like,
or a crazy one, right?
Yes.
Or both. And it's been that. It's been a journey that has been definitely really, really beautiful, also really challenging. There's been a lot to traverse, right? It's the saying, it rings true that ignorance is bliss at times. And when we surrender our ignorance and really surrender to the divine, things often become more challenging before they become easy, right? It's really beautiful from the outside perspective looking in, to see someone who is on the spiritual path, but little do we know, being on the spiritual path is like getting dragged through the valley of your shadow pretty often.
I'm so glad you said that part, because I think spirituality is like, people think that you're choosing this higher self, and you are, but it's not tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. That path to the higher self is fraught with valleys. It really is. But moving forward, I was finding a lot of meditations and experiences that were really uplifting and really kind of solidifying this dream life that I was pulling in and creating. And it was really revealing. It was just showing me that this is real. You know, the practice of spirituality is real. And there's so much more beyond the outside world. There's so much more beyond developing the body and one's athleticism and one's capability with the body, that there's a whole inner world to be explored and discovered and developed. And so this eventually led to me graduating college, getting a job that was amazing. It was a great job. And after achieving some sort of financial success, I realized that financial success was not the key to happiness. It was not the key to fulfillment, and that it really wasn't going to bring me what I was truly looking for. So it kind of stopped my spiritual, this really devout spiritual practice to try to achieve success of the world, success of the material world, to see if that would help, just to explore life. And after that, after about 11 months, I stopped working with the company and kind of went on this journey for myself to discover what it is that I'm really looking for, what it is that I am really needing to be fulfilled, what my heart and my soul is yearning for. And so this led me to working with plant medicine. And I ended up going to New York City, funny enough, to sit with a facilitator who served me Bufo alvarius, or 5-MeO-DMT. And the 5-MeO-DMT experience was very profound. My consciousness was catapulted to all ends of the earth. Every cell in my body was expanded to its absolute capacity and beyond. And then it all came back into my body. And so my takeaway was, if that can happen, anything is possible, which I thought that was going to be the takeaway, which was really cool. But little did I know it wasn't even scratching the surface. So 5 days later, I'm down in Austin, Texas, and I'm relaxing at a friend's lake house. My feet are just touching the water on the dock, and my bandana's over my eyes. And it's September, and it's February. So it was nice and cool. So I'm just enjoying the warm sun. And what I experienced in that time was absolutely life-changing. And it was this very intense electrical shock that went through my body. And as it did, I felt this incredible sensation in my body. And I said, what's going on? So I pulled up my bandana, and the water, the trees, the sky, everything was geometry. It was the geometric makeup behind the earth. And I had this really strange supersonic hearing that I could hear really far away, and this 360-degree vision of sorts that was really weird. And I remember feeling this ecstatic bliss course through my entire body and feeling this incredible connection to the universe and this ecstasy. And in those moments, I was connecting energetically with these different higher deities, these ascended masters such as Ganesha and Krishna and Jesus. And I had this really deep connection with Jesus. And I remember seeing him I'm from Louisiana, so coming from this very kind of toxic Christian environment, I remember seeing Jesus and just feeling his love and this brotherhood between us, and saying, man, you're so misunderstood. You're so misunderstood. And he was like, yeah, welcome to the club. Now, and he said, you've done the work of your soul. This has been a fast track on the work of your soul. And now it's time to do my work. Now it's time to do my work. And I'm like, what does that mean? And at the time I'm like, yes, everything was a pure yes. Everything was an absolute universal yes, but I didn't know what that meant. And so one thing led to another. Within days, I was back in New York City learning how to facilitate this medicine. And I watched people come in from the streets of Manhattan. And each one of them were completely riddled with stress and anxiety. They were totally locked up. And by the time that they left, about an hour and a half later, they were like normal people. They were totally kind of free. Just this huge cathartic release was had, and they were able to let go of everything that they were really holding on to, at least for the moment. And so I saw this one after the other. And I decided that this was the most important thing in existence. This is the thing that could bring me fulfillment because it's so purposeful. And so I went on this journey of serving this medicine and giving it to everyone that I could, and kind of being this missionary, right? This Bufo missionary, before anybody knew what Bufo was. And
I've never heard of it.
Right. Well, we'll talk more about it. So obviously my journey has transitioned since then.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say that. I know that's not what you do now.
Right. And we still do it, just not in the retreat setting for sure. And, focusing on the underlying foundation of love that's behind this experience. That's really what this experience helps us to feel more deeply, is this universal connection of love. And then I started to see that there was kind of holes in the facilitator community, to where there was not enough integration, preparation. It was just, here's the medicine. This is the medicine. Here you go. And I knew that wasn't true. I knew that we are the medicine. The medicine just helps us to realize this on a more deeper level. And I went to Asia after that. I kind of just like, all right, I'm leaving this and I'm going to Asia. And I studied breathwork, meditation, sound healing, which I was already connected with before, but now I really wanted to go immerse myself with these different teachers. And I did that for about a year, and then left, came back to the United States. And as soon as I got back, we started integrating the medicine with all of the different modalities together, so that the medicine experience can be very complete and very almost encapsulated in this beautiful bubble of holistic practice. Right. And, for people to integrate what they learn from the medicine into their everyday life, they need some type of practice to help them to really stay connected with that energy. And now we just focus on the embodiment piece, because I believe that we're at a time where we no longer need the medicine. We've had this paradigm shift that the plant medicine was super helpful for and are super helpful with. And now it's time to really bring it all into the body, right? How are we treating ourselves every day? What is our diet? What is our daily practice? How fast are we looking at this thing whenever we wake up in the morning? How seriously are we taking our health and well-being? Because this is the way of the new earth, right? Is to be grounded and rooted in love, opening our hearts to the feminine and the masculine, not just having this toxic patriarchal masculine do, go approach, but learning how to be nurturing to oneself and to others. And so now that's what we teach, right? And that's what you guys got to experience at the retreat here recently.
I actually never heard that story. So cool. That was completely new for me. I was like, okay, hold on.
Awesome.
So that was new to that. That was new for me too. Oh my God, I have so many questions, but I want to start with something this is for my audience in particular, because I heard you say something and I know the audience that I serve, and the women that I serve are going to have this question in particular. Is, you said that day on the dock, you were able to connect with Jesus, and that you wanted to administer this plant medicine to really help people connect with themselves, with Jesus and higher powers. I just had this conversation with somebody the other day about like spirit, soul, and self. There's such an argument and a fight out there right now that if you do this, and I have my own personal opinion about this, but if you do this work, you are giving all these other things God. You are seeing all these other things as God,
right?
Versus putting the power behind God and Jesus. I have my own take on this, but I would be so curious as a boy from Louisiana who understands this. And I know that I've heard you say this before in a retreat where you've given people the openness to whatever their higher power is, but you said that yours is Jesus. You say it in a really unique way. I can't think of what it was you said, but when I heard you say it, it made me feel really safe to still believe what I believe in, but to do this work. What is your take on, just for my audience sake, this spirituality, this work, this connection with spirit and soul and Jesus?
Right. So Jesus has been the archetypal principle of spirituality in the West, right? In China, we have Buddha. In India, we have Krishna. There are kind of these, and in India, we have a lot of them, right? And Ganesha, and they're all kind of these archetypal teachers. So whenever we give all of our attention and we say that this is the only archetypal teacher that I believe in, this is a very old narrative that has divided human beings for a very long time, right? And whenever we say spirit is a universal term. It brings together everyone, and it creates unity, which creates harmony, which we are all the same. We are all the divine expressing itself through human experience, right? We are all God having a human experience. If you were a God and you were all powerful, it would be kind of boring just being out in the cosmos. So how would we want to have an experience? How would we want to create entertainment and art and love and creativity? Well, we would create ourselves through billions of different expressions of the self, of the one being. And so ultimately, all of the religions, this is one of our core components and our core tenets in Connect and Evolve, is that we are all expressions of the one divine creator, which is the unknowable. And all of the essence, the foundation of all spiritual teachings, all religions, is love. It's all love. And this is what Jesus taught. And this is what every great ascended master has taught, is that it comes down to love. And with Jesus, now this is going to get a little heady. So it's going to be perfect. And
get straight.
Right. Yeah. Grab your coffee. So starting out as a good old boy from Louisiana, right? Going to Christian school, saying that if you don't invite Jesus into your heart, you are going to burn in a fiery lake of hell. Well, that's pretty intense and scary. And at the end of the day, it is also a good placeholder, right? So the Bible being taken literally is an actual pretty decent placeholder for what it actually means metaphorically, right? Saying you have to invite Jesus into your heart or you're going to go to hell, right? Hell is a scary place. And this has been it's kind of demonized because hell is an experience that we can literally have on earth, and this experience of reincarnation, of kind of just having these, all this karma and all these crappy lives until we finally get it right. And we can go into that later as well, if we'd like. It's a good placeholder for people to actually have the experience of salvation, right? And what does salvation look like? Well, it's very unique to each different person, right? Salvation can be, I have been carrying ancestral trauma and my own trauma for decades. And now through this particular therapist, this plant medicine experience, this retreat, or all of the above, the work, right? That you said, the work, I now feel free of that trauma. That's what salvation is. right? And we can say, oh, I gotta be with Jesus, right? I gotta just connect with Jesus. I just gotta pray and everything's gonna be okay. This is an old narrative. This is an old paradigm where we give our power away to Jesus. We give our power away to prayer. Whenever prayer is designed and intended toward us finding the power within ourselves, us feeling the Holy Spirit within ourselves. It's not separate from us. We are that. We are the Holy Spirit expressing itself in human form. It's all of our birthright to be able to have the Holy Spirit, have an intimate relationship with the Holy Spirit within our hearts and ourselves in every moment of every day. And so Jesus, when we look at Jesus' teachings, what Jesus said seems to really go overlooked in church, in a church that's more traditional, because Jesus said, do as I have done and you will do greater things than me. We are no different, right? If you have the faith of a mustard seed, you'll tell the mountain to move and it will move. My personal belief through my connection with Jesus is that this man was well-traveled. He was a rebel against what he thought was tyranny, right? He was a bit of a rebel. He's a badass.
Yep.
And he had a very devout practice in meditation, most likely yoga asana as well, because I believe he traveled to India and learned yoga there. And he found himself very spiritually developing at a very high pace. And sometimes the cosmos, the universe, it selects people to be examples for everyone, right? And we've seen this many, many times. Some not so good examples, some great examples, right? We have Lao Tzu, we have the Tao Te Ching, we have all these different spiritual leaders that have been these pillars of truth that we hold on to, even in times that are challenging, and that we celebrate when times are good. And so I think we each have a different archetype for the divine. Right? We each have a different archetype that we connect with. And here in the West, it's primarily Jesus, but in China, it's Buddha. And the Buddha says, the Buddha is way more chill. The Buddha's way more chill. The Buddha is like, hey, it's all good. Just, the less that you desire things, the more happy and chill you'll be. And be yourself. There is no right or wrong. Walk the middle path. Enjoy life, but also have your spiritual practice. And in my opinion, I believe Jesus was much more of a Buddhist, because we all know that he wasn't a Christian. It wasn't a thing, right? All he taught was the principle of love. And so Christianity has lost sight of what Jesus really, really wants us to know. And it's that, hey, the power is within you. God is within you. And we are the same. The I am is a universal statement that we are, right? I am the Son of God. We are all the Son of God. And I know there's Christians right now cringing. Look, I hear you. I feel you. I understand. I had to go through very, very intense, rigorous training of this is what's right. This is what's right. This is what's right, through Christian schools, through Christian churches. And when I had the experience of salvation and that connection with Jesus, I knew, without it going into my brain and me having to cipher out all of the information, it was in my heart and my gut. I knew that Jesus and all of us, we are all brothers and sisters, and that he wants us all to know that we have that power within us to be just as great and amazing as him, right? If you have an amazing leader, that leader wants you to also be an amazing leader. It doesn't want you to be a follower. It doesn't want you to be someone that's way behind them, pulling their slack, right? It wants you to go and do as they do. And so that's my feelings about it. I'm very passionate about that because I have seen both polarities.
Yeah.
Very, very profoundly.
Yes.
Right. And you too.
I love that you said this because someone just told me the other day, I was asking like, what, how do you know when, because people always say like Jesus was talking to me or I heard from God. And I said, how do you know you heard from God? And she said, because he always comes with peace. And I'm just thinking about that experience. And you said you felt it in your heart. It came with so much like it was clear and it was peaceful and it was blissful. You said you experienced like the most blissful experience in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, that's how you know it's not the ego. It's not yourself talking. It's not the devil. It's Jesus. It's your
God.
Father God. It is. Yep. So I appreciate that so much. And I know, like you said, Christians are cringing and they might burn this episode down. But I've had some profound God moments, and I've had some profound, very, very profound spiritual moments. And me and I am not a healer, but my understanding has always, my theory behind it has always been simple. It's very similar to what you said, a little off, but that I think that I don't know. I feel like spirituality is my connection to myself. It is my connection to my soul. It's my ability to see my power and my magic within. And that it is just another tool that God gave us that helped us to expand ourselves or expand ourselves to see ourselves. Yeah. Because Christianity just teaches you to see God. Yeah. And it's like, I see him, I know he loves me. But spirituality has said, to me, it doesn't make me the God. It makes me more magical and more powerful because I can see myself.
That's it.
Through and through, toe to toe, like everything, good, bad, and indifferent. I know before I say something, before I react, before I trigger, before I make a poor decision, or when I need to make a choice in love, that I'm like, this is who I am through and through. Mm-hmm. And I know that because of the work I've done spiritually, but the work I've done spiritually only further shows me who God created me to me. Yeah, absolutely. And you are, I have to say it again, we are God expressing itself in human form. And traditionally the church has created this separation from that. The rishis and the sages way back in the day, almost 10,000 years ago in India, knew this, and developing this connection through yoga, through meditation, through breathwork has been around for a long, long time. And now it's just resurfacing in the West, So we have to understand that we can harness and cultivate this connection with God, spirit, the universe, call it what you will, the unknowable, right? And then everybody has a different archetype for what that is. For us, it's Jesus, it's Buddha and Krishna and Vishnu. And there is a way to gain a deeper connection. And my mom is an amazing example of this, because she's like, no, I don't believe that, she's old school. She's traditional. I don't believe that I can be like Jesus. Like, I believe that Jesus is God. That's it. I'm not that is so concrete, cemented in her mind, but she also has this deep connection through prayer every day. Yeah. Through prayer. Yes. Yeah. And the connection I have in prayer is the same connection I have in meditation to me. Yes. Yeah. I said this to someone the other day, and this is not my argument in disbelief in God, but I said this the other day, and I said it to someone that I'm very close with, who is a deep Christian, and she is who I go to for all my advice, my questions about God. And I said, what is the difference between me sitting on my ass crisscross and meditating and connecting with myself and God, and me sitting on my knees with my hands up or connected or close to my heart, specifically praying to God? The connection feels the same. Absolutely. It is the same. and I think where the sin, right? The Latin term sin is actually an archery term for missing the mark, right? We're just missing the mark. We're missing the bullseye. It's like not quite right. And one way that we've really missed the mark is to say that you are wrong and I am right. Whenever we both have the same intention of connecting with spirit, of creating harmony,
of, back to this core tenet, finding love, which is the foundation of all spiritual teachings. The way you do yoga is wrong. The way I do yoga is right. This creates separation, which is sin, right? Unity, coming together, this collective consciousness, cultivating that is truth.